In 1864, a mysterious bear is killed. Its fur is yellowish tan, with brown eyes, long claws, and a strange shaped skull. Known as MacFarlane's bear, the specimen continues to stump zoologists to this day, with theories ranging from a polar grizzly hybrid to an entirely undiscovered species of bear, known scientifically as Ventularctus inopinatus, or the ancient unexpected bear. Is MacFarlane's bear a lost descendant of the giant short-faced bear, thought to have gone extinct over 10,000 years ago? No one has ever seen or reported a bear like this before or since the specimen's discovery, making it truly the world's most rarest bear. On the Arctic tundra far north in Canada in 1864, two Inuit hunters were out hunting along the icy shores of Franklin Bay. Both men noticed a strange-looking bear up ahead of them, one that didn't quite fit the normal description that they have experienced with a polar bear. Well armed, they carefully made their way closer, then decided to frighten this strange bear. Not wanting to get any closer, they stopped by a driftwood stand constructed by the two men prior to this incident. They used this stand to help steady their aim. One of the brothers carried a Hudson Bay flintlock musket, the other a 6-foot hand-carved spear. They sat and waited, this strange bear slowly making its way closer, the thing sniffing, perhaps looking to the brothers as a possible food source. The brother with the musket aimed his weapon, then waited for this bear to get to the appropriate range, where he fired. The shot hit and wounded the beast, but failed to kill it, making the creature panic and grow into a furious rage. It lunged at the man with the musket, but his brother intervened with his spear, the man slicing down the enraged bear's side. This allowed the other brother to escape, and he dropped his musket, then unsheathed his knife. This is where the two men got a good look at this strange, unexplained bear. They skinned the animal, then decapitated it. They would send both to Roderick R. MacFarlane, who worked with the Hudson Bay Company, because they knew him as a naturalist and Arctic explorer. MacFarlane, who was also adept to the polar bear, found this specimen curious. Unlike the white fur common with the Arctic bear, this creature was described to have notably tan fur and brown rings around its eyes. MacFarlane found nothing peculiar with this bear, thinking it just an oddly colored, barren-ground grizzly, and he shipped off the pelt and the skull to the Smithsonian. When the pelt and skull arrived, it was quickly cataloged number 1979 of the MacFarlane collection, skin number 8706 and skull number 7149, collected June 24th, 1864. This was 1864, and the United States was embroiled in the middle of a deadly and violent civil war. It is not surprising the specimen was quickly stored away and thus forgotten about. That was until 1918. Dr. Clinton Hart Merriam, often cited as the godfather of modern zoology, uncovered this strange remains, and the strange bear could finally get examined. This was, indeed, no barren ground grizzly. Dr. Merriam asked about the story behind such a bear, quickly deciding it was, indeed, not a polar bear. Yet the specimen was also shot far above the normal brown bear habitat. Far north. Too far north. At the time, Merriam was the foremost expert on North American bears, having made it a personal mission to classify and document all the different species and subspecies of bears which populated the continent. It quickly became apparent that in North America alone, there were great variations in specific bear species. Currently, there are 8 species of bears in the world: the spectacled bear, the giant panda, the sloth bear, the Asiatic black bear, the American black bear, the sun bear, the polar bear, and the brown bear. All 8 originate from the same family, the Ursidae. 12 million years ago, the spectacled bear and the giant panda diverged from this lineage. Next was the sloth bear, diverging around 7 million years ago. The Asiatic and American black bear came next at around 6 million years ago. The sun bear then diverged around 5 million years ago. The last major divergence was relatively recent, around 400,000 years ago. This is when the polar bear split off from the brown bear. Each of these have subspecies within them, most famously the brown bear, or Ursus arctos. There is the grizzly, Kodiak, or even the extinct Californian brown bear. The black bear even has subspecies, like the cinnamon bear, more common within the northeastern edge of normal black bear habitat. Merriam named 96 distinct varieties of brown bears alone, which would later be simplified down to 9 subspecies. Yet even with all this knowledge, Merriam could not decipher what he held within his hands. It seemed to have pieces of both coastal brown bear, but also polar bear. Yet, not quite. What puzzled Merriam the most was this bear's skull. He found it oddly shaped, shorter than a polar bear or brown bear's. In fact, the bear Merriam said most closely resembled MacFarlane's specimen was the giant short-faced bear. The giant short-faced bear is said to have gone extinct around 10,000 years ago, around the end of the last major ice age. These massive creatures could stand up to 12 feet tall on its hind legs and weighed over 1,600 pounds, making it one of, if not the, largest mammalian predator to have ever lived. These bears belong to the subfamily of Ursidae, the Tremarctinae, or short-faced bear family, where the only remaining members are the South American and Florida short-faced bears. The Arctodus was notable for its longer legs, longer more so than the modern North American bears, making it possibly the fastest bear of its time. There is also the noticeable short face, where the giant got its name. With its massive size and speed, the giant short-faced bear remained unchallenged as the apex predator it was, until its supposed extinction towards the end of the last ice age. But if other bears like the brown bear, polar bear, and black bear could have survived, could the giant short-faced bear have as well? With a small population once living in the vast wilderness of northern Canada or Alaska? Or perhaps, more realistically, could its descendants have bred and evolved into an entire new species of bear altogether? After all, reports of these giant bears have gone on for centuries, both from the Arctic explorers and the natives who have lived in these territories for thousands of years. Was MacFarlane's bear actually the great descendant of the giant short-faced bear? Merriam, who had helped bring to light the short-faced bear in the first place, certainly thought the MacFarlane bear was the long-lost descendant of those giants which once roamed North America. He was so confident that he decided to give MacFarlane's bear its own species and genus, the Vectolarctos inopinatus, or better known as the ancient unexpected bear. With sparse human population and seemingly endless miles of wilderness, it seems possible that undiscovered species of ancient bears, or new ones, could exist without anyone ever knowing it. And that was exactly how people looked at MacFarlane's bear for decades, as it was a holotype, or the first collected specimen of its species. Many zoologists began to speculate that this strange, tan-colored bear had gone extinct since 1864, or perhaps the 2 Inuit hunters inadvertently killed the last living members of its species. And the mystery fell to the wayside yet again, few people knowing about this unexpected, unexplained species of bear perhaps roaming the Arctic tundra. And just as it had in 1918, the mystery was brought back to the limelight in 2006. American hunter Jim Martell was on a guided hunting expedition near Nelson Head, which lies on the southern end of Banks Island. The party saw a strange bear, and Martell aimed his rifle, most of them thinking nothing of it. Martell pulled the trigger and killed the bear almost instantly. On approach, everyone on the expedition quickly realized that what they had shot was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. What Martell had shot was the first ever recorded case of a polar bear and grizzly bear hybrid found in the wild. It had tannish-colored fur and dark brown circles around its eyes. Its claws were also long like a grizzly, with a signature humped back. DNA testing confirmed the theory and shocked zoologists around the world. Dubbed the Pizzly by the media, this bear showcased just how close polar bear and grizzly bear territory had come with the advent of global warming. But as the saying goes, where there is one, there will always be another. Are there more grizzly polar bear hybrids roaming the Arctic tundra? With the wild Pizzly's discovery, many researchers reopened MacFarlane's bear and quickly discovered remarkable parallels. First, and most notable, was the tan fur both Martel's bear and MacFarlane's shared. Next were the reported long claws and the dark brown fur around their eyes. It was not hard for zoologists to start arriving at the conclusion that what Merriam had thought was an entirely new species of bear was in fact a polar grizzly hybrid, which begs the question, if this has been happening at least since 1864, could Merriam be correct, not in his conclusions, but his decision in giving these bears its own genus and species? The Smithsonian gave Dr. Blaine W. Schubert of East Tennessee State University rare access to the MacFarlane bear remains. He quickly and almost dismissively labeled the bear. He was 100% sure that the skull was that of a young female brown bear. While he was convinced that the MacFarlane bear was not a polar grizzly hybrid, but a full brown bear, others remained skeptical. Currently, the most popular explanation for MacFarlane's bear is that it was, indeed, a polar grizzly hybrid, and not a long-lost relative to the giant short-faced bear. Others remained more skeptical, with most of these scientists thinking the bear had simply gone extinct since 1864. But what these theorists point to regularly was once the vast distances between grizzly, brown bear, and polar bear habitats. While yes, global warming has resulted in mainly polar bears venturing south, such as the case in Fort Yukon, a spot 10 times outside the normal range of polar bears, where one was nevertheless shot, that territory was much wider in 1864. If even today zoologists consider polar grizzly hybrids as being next to zero, how much more slim were the chances almost 160 years ago? Perhaps the Ventularctos inopinatus does exist to this day, a small population still alive, terrifying the indigenous life as an apex predator. Perhaps it died off from natural causes, or interbreeding, or loss of territory due to global warming. What can be said is that the MacFarlane bear remains one of the largest mysteries in the bear research world, and will likely never be truly solved. Yet, without a doubt, this bear did exist, even if only in this one odd specimen, making MacFarlane's bear the rarest bear to have ever walked the earth.